Good evening, and welcome to the Speedway Redevelopment Commission meeting of October 21st, 2019. My name is Tom Popcheff. I'm the president of the commission, and what I'd like to do is call the meeting to order. I would also like to introduce our commission members and also staff that are here this evening. Immediately to my left is Brody Duncan, the vice president of the commission. To his left is Rhonda Schwartz, the secretary of the commission. To her left is Jennifer Miller, commission member. And to her left is Dr. Terry Reed, who is the representative of the Speedway School Corporation. And then immediately to my right is Mr. Tim Gropp, who is the Economic and Development Director for the town of Speedway. We also have Tim Ramian, our executive assistant, in the audience. And then we also have Gary Rakes, who is District 1 Town's Counselor for the town of Speedway. Also joining us is David Rainey from the Veritas Group, and David is representing the town as the consultant on numerous projects. And you'll hear from him a little bit later on in our updates. Also want to remind everyone that proper notice had been posted as required by Indiana law. The next agenda item, I'd like to open the lectern to anyone in the audience that would like to make any public comments. So if you would, please feel free to come to the lectern. Well, seeing and hearing no one, we will proceed to the next agenda item, which is the consent of our meeting minutes for the executive and regular session of the Redevelopment Commission held on September 16th, 2019, and the most recent special session of the Speedway Redevelopment Commission that was held on October 7th, 2019. Those meeting minutes had been previously distributed, and any comments, corrections had been submitted to our executive assistant. So unless I hear any further suggested edits or changes, we'll go ahead and accept those by consent. All right, the next item we have is our register of claims. And that, again, was distributed earlier by our town clerk treasurer and is also contained in our packet. So everything looks to be, fairly customary, but Tim, I will give you the opportunity to let us know if there's anything unusual or out of the ordinary that needs to be explained.
Nothing too out of the ordinary. We had a few legal bills in there. We had some ABC work that we handle, Alcohol Beverage Commission, that we had some legal work for, as well as the zonings for both the fence around 10th and Polko,
right,
and the 2500 rezone. So I believe those should be the last ones, but I'm not 100% positive.
Well, let's hope so. Anybody have any further questions of Tim regarding any of the claims listed on the register? Well, then I will entertain a motion to accept the register of claims for the period of September 14th, 2019 through December 18th, 2019.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the claims.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second on the table. Any further questions, comments? Well, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor of approving the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. All right, now we're going to get into some exciting portions of our meeting this evening. This is our project updates, and the first project I would like to have an update on is our Wilshaw project, and I'll rely on David Rainey. If you would come to the lectern. Love to hear your most recent project update.
Thank you, sir. David Rainey with Veritas Group. So yes, we've continually invited Loftus Robinson as well as Wilhelm Construction to come and give them the opportunity to come and provide an update. They did come to the Redevelopment Commission last time. They declined or were not able to come tonight. I don't have much of an update for you. We've continually asked for an updated schedule showing a restart. I've not received that. We've been promised that. I think we were promised that at the last meeting, and that never came about. So, in addition, I have asked over time for multiple documents, which I've not received, being project financial summary. I've asked for pay applications. I've asked for contractor lien waivers, which would accompany those pay applications, updated schedules, as well as, like I said, the project restart, anticipated restart date, and have not received those to date. So I think Mr. Loftus did respond today and indicate that they would provide updates when available, and they were still looking forward to providing and finishing a project here, but I've not heard from them personally.
Well, David, I do appreciate that, and I think the biggest frustration that the commission realizes is that lack of effective communication. We've entered into a partnership, and both partners have obligations. I honestly believe that SRC and the town have lived up to our obligations. I can't necessarily say that with the developer in this case. Tim, do you have any comments?
Just a couple additions there. I did hear from Drew today, but it was simply that they wouldn't be able to make it tonight. They will pass along any updates, and they look forward to delivering a successful project. Do reiterate they are still within the EDA requirements and their 180 days. However, that clock is ticking, and when this stoppage, if you will, first happened, it seemed like it was going to be a short one, and we're going in several months here, and it's just been frustrating on all ends as to why we're not seeing much progress and we're not receiving a lot of information. We are in constant communication with them. The responses don't come very often. When they do, they'll tell us they had a productive meeting, they've made progress, but we don't get details beyond that. So as we did at the last meeting, if you recall, we asked them to provide updates so we can push them out to the public. And we see a lot of chatter on social media, as well as, you can't, anywhere around town, it's pretty obvious there's a quarter-built project at a very busy intersection. People want to know what's going on, and we'd love to give better updates. So we've pushed for better communication from them. Unfortunately, at the last meeting, Drew agreed that better communication is needed and they'd be providing it, and we just have not gotten it since that meeting. I know that Kelly Buck, our communications director, has reached out multiple times and not gotten any response. So we're going to keep leaning on them to provide updates, but they need to be substantial updates, not just we had a meeting and we made progress and things are going well. As David also mentioned, they have promised us an updated construction schedule. They've been meeting with Wilhelm and subcontractors and said they're going to provide us an updated schedule, and we just have not gotten that. I think that will appease a lot of us, knowing that there is a startup date and completion date and what those are that we can provide. So we were supposed to have it last week. We have not received it, so we're going to continue to push to get that as quickly as we can. We're just, again, communication needs to be better on their end. That we're trying our best on our end. We're just not getting it in return, and we'll keep pushing for that. So that's kind of where we're at this point. Our next steps. We're gonna have requests of some formal documentation through our attorney. Just take a formal step, make sure we're following all the rules as we said we have, and we have been doing it. As David said, we're following our end of the agreement. The EDA and everything. We're making sure we do everything by the book, so nothing can come back on us. So we're going to do some formal requests through our attorney on the project. We're also going to reach out to some of the partner organizations. We're not getting communication directly from the developer in the timely manner we want, so we're going to reach out to Hilton and see what the updates are from their side, what information they can provide from us. And also, we're going to start leaning a little bit more on Skinnell properties. This was a partnership signed by all parties, by both Skinnell and Loftus Robinson on their side. Skinnell is a partner in this project. It's not separated as two projects, it's one project. So, we're gonna make sure we're inviting Skinnell to these meetings to answer as well and see why they're not putting a little more pressure on their partners to move forward as well.
No, exactly.
Do you have the date of the work stoppage? I know last time when Loftus Robinson was here, they had indicated that some material had been delivered, and they obviously agreed that was not construction work.
Correct.
Per the contract. So do we have the date?
I have a formal communication. I apologize, I don't have the date in front of
Yeah.
me, but I do have a formal email that was sent, putting them on notice that we're acknowledging that there's been
Okay.
a stop in construction. I think at the last email I sent to them, we were at 101 days at that particular update, which was a few weeks ago, so we're a little bit over that right now.
Okay. Thank you.
And in my correspondence too, I clearly our job is to help and provide the town and assist the town in providing a good project, a completed project. And we work with the developers, we work with the construction managers, and we're trying to do all that. And we're trying to be good communicating, good partners in that. It's just hard to do when we're not getting that feedback and that communication back. But, one of the biggest things that's a concern of mine right now, of course, I'm sure of all of yours, is the weather's turning. So we're going to be approaching winter conditions. We've missed some fantastic weather. I have no doubt in my mind, knowing Wilhelm, they would have had this building probably topped out and closed in, probably pretty close by this time. So it's very unfortunate, but that's where we are. So we'll continue to push and go from there.
With that 101-day time frame, have there been any mechanics liens filed on the?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. So, and one of the things that I did want to find out, and I've asked for this information again, but I've not received it, is whether or not with the pay applications, typically you always get lien waivers. If the contractors are being paid, those lien waivers come without any problem. If for some reason there's been a payment issue, then typically you won't see those lien waivers accompany the pay applications. I don't have that information to share, so.
Okay.
Everybody wants the same end result here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're trying to be good partners, we're trying to be accommodating, but there needs to be better information to provide back to us so that we can answer the public's questions on these. So we're going to try some different routes here to try and get better communication and information, and then we'll kind of have a plan in place if we need to go any steps beyond that. But we're working on our side, we're prepared on our side, and we'll do the best we can to continue to push this thing forward in any way we can from a town perspective. We have a limited role in that, but we'll do whatever we can to continue to move this project forward and continue to put pressure on the developers to at least give us updates and provide us information so we know where we stand. But I echo David's concerns. We've burned a lot of good weather here, and now it's going to be winter time, so it's not going to get any easier and probably not much cheaper if they're paying winter conditions now. So it's unfortunate timing, and we just hope they start sooner than later.
Well, I certainly appreciate David and Tim's efforts in attempting to secure all the necessary documentation, information. And again, it is very frustrating that we don't see the reciprocity, because I know that we have complied with every provision of the executive development agreement, the economic development agreement, and we'll continue to do so. And I appreciate your ongoing efforts.
Thank you.
Anybody have any further questions of either David or Tim?
We just hope it gets resolved within the EDA parameters, which, again, I think it's important to remember they're still currently within those parameters. So, we can only have such a big stick at this point because they are working within what was outlined from the beginning. But the clock is ticking, definitely, and again, we're just trying to provide updates.
Great. Any last comments, Mr. Rainey?
Not with regard to Wilshaw, no.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Our next update is Founders Square, 2500 North High School Road. Again, David and the Veris Group are assisting us in that project. I don't know whether you'd like to give a little update, or Tim?
Sure. Yeah, I'll let David start. We'll talk more about my stuff and the resolutions portion.
So I've got this out for bid to, I think, 13, 14 different contractors. Had some really great feedback from the contractors, probably 4 or 5 in particular. I'm anticipating have 4 bids come in. They're originally due tomorrow rather at noon. I've extended that because of some contractor requests. They're waiting to get some subcontractor bid numbers in. So I've pushed that out to Thursday this week at noon. So I'm hoping to get some good results. Last time we looked at this, we had 2 bids that came in, and they weren't really that well put together. So we've put a lot of information, a lot of effort behind this bid package. And so hopefully Thursday we've got some great results to share. So, but that's really kind of the update right now. As soon as we get those numbers in, we'll be ready to move
Well,
forward.
we'll look forward to seeing the responses as they come in next Thursday, or this coming Thursday. All
And
right.
just to be clear on those, so the way this deal is structured, the developer is actually doing the work for the infrastructure, so the bids will be selected through the developer, not through the SRC. And as David said, we have tweaked it as much as we can to have as much detail. We want these to be as accurate as possible to fit within our framework.
Great, thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Dave. Any further
Any
questions of David on the project?
All right.
Thank you, David.
Perfect, thank you.
Appreciate the update. All right, our next project update is the Able Construction project, which is located on Gilman. All 4 of the walls are up. It's encouraging to see. So, Tim, do you have any more information?
Just really quickly, everything's moving along fine. As you mentioned, the walls are up, and they're working on foundation and roofing, and they should have no problems getting under roof before winter.
Well, that'll be helpful.
And they might not get landscaping and everything done, which I don't know why you'd plant landscaping in the winter, but but in general, everything seems to be on target, on time, and moving well, which is better than the start. But yeah, we're excited, and I did hear from their broker, record, Michael Weiser, and he reached out today. I haven't had a chance to connect with him, but talking a little bit about leasing opportunities on that project. So
Good. Good.
I'll keep you posted as that moves along.
That's great. Thank you. Any further questions of Tim on that project? Our last project update is the 1300 block of North Main Street. And again, Tim, I'll ask you to give us an informational update.
Yep. So it other than monitoring, all the environmental seems to be completed. I was out last week, so I don't know if the fence is still up. I don't think it is.
It's been removed.
So everything should be kind of back to normal on that site. I had a chance to talk with Bell last weekend, right before I left, and he kind of gave me an update on all they're working through. It was a good conversation, and he just needed a little bit more time. He said he'd call me mid-November to kind of let me know what their final decision is. They will be in Speedway. That's just a matter of where and to what degree of what they're doing. So he's working through some internal organization and staffing items that he needs to figure out prior. Once they kind of fall into place, we'll be able to put everything else in place. And then hopefully at this point, we'll probably negotiate over the winter so we can start sometime in early spring on at least phase 1 of that project. So we're excited, but we kind of, with where Bell is and needing them to make a decision, that's kind of been one of the sticking points there. But we're hoping we can put a deal together here that'll give us some time over the winter as we're getting ramped up at 2,500 and moving along that one. It'll give us time to shift our focus over to the negotiations on that project and hopefully have the deal put in place. And there are definitely some tenant interest in that facility. So I know that the developer is reworking the pro forma a little bit and kind of adjusting numbers based on some of these different scenarios. So hopefully we'll have an update sooner than later.
What's our plan for parking now that the environmental has been completed? And
I believe they were putting the parking blocks back and they were restriping, so kind of back to what it was previous. Basically, everything should be back to what it was prior to the environmental cleanup. So overflow parking is welcome to park in any of those spots. Some of the staff parking to the north is welcome to park back there as well. We have not had, since we've started that, we have not really had issues with too many people over there.
It doesn't seem to have been.
So it's kind of been self-monitoring and working well. So basically, it's open to whoever needs it at this point. And
Well,
then
that's good.
as the project moves on and we have to start isolating that, we'll make adjustments accordingly.
Great. Anybody have any further questions of Tim on the 1300 block? Or parking in general? Because I know that's always a difficult subject and issue to deal with. Great, well, hearing no further questions, let's move on to our new business. We have 3 resolutions that we'll be discussing and considering for approval this evening. And what I'd like to do is turn to Tim to give us an explanation of each of the 3. And I believe we'll go ahead and vote on each resolution individually. So let's hear about Resolution 2019-14, which amends the Economic Development Agreement and Purchase Agreement, and other matters related to the 2500 North High School Road project.
Yeah, so previously I had sent the SRC some updated amendments to the Economic Development Agreement and Purchase Agreement for 2500. We had signed those quite a while ago now, and we had done some extensions on timelines, and a lot of the framework was in place, but as this project has evolved, as we've had to dig into negotiations with Circle K and some other issues, it became a little more complicated project, and it's taken a little more time. So, and what happened was the EDA was the basic framework, and then it kicked a lot of the details to the purchase agreement, and the purchase agreement kicked a lot of details to the funding agreement. All these have to work together. So as we went back and we started drafting the funding agreement, now that we're ready to finally move forward with everything and insert all the new details to the what ifs and thens, based on different scenarios that could happen with, in particular, like, with the money for Circle K, or there's a project that, some land that needs to be acquired. All that had to be incorporated into the funding agreement. But then the funding agreement didn't make, the EDA and the purchase agreement had some gaps in it then. In particular, a lot of the timelines and the dates didn't make sense because I think we all anticipated this would probably start sooner than it did. So this first amendment, or this first resolution, is authorizing the president to sign the updated economic development agreement and purchase agreement once all those final issues are put to rest. It also incorporates all the clawback provisions and what happens if things fall through at certain points. So we contemplated all that in the EDA, which is a lot more elaborate now that we know what the project looks like. So that is what this resolution is. This resolution is authorizing us to sign the updated, the amendments to the Economic Development Agreement and Purchase Agreement, which basically puts it in line with the funding agreement. It does not, I should be clear, it does not restructure the original deal too much, other than the caveats of, not to get into too much of the Circle K deal, but in particular, they have to escrow some land and some money while Circle K decides what they're going to do. So it defers some of the payment in there that gets repaid to us. So we had to figure out how that happens, make sure that we're paid in full, move forward, and that we're able to pay the bills.
Agreement to protect all parties involved.
Correct. So there was a lot more of that needed to be incorporated, but it cleans up the dates and it makes sure that all these documents reference back to each other and it makes sense.
Well, thank you for that explanation. Any of the commission members have any further questions of Tim regarding the resolution? Good. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to accept resolution number 2019-14.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to vote on Resolution 2019-14, amending the Economic Development Agreement and Purchase Agreement and other matters related to the 2500 North High School Road project, also known as Founders Square.
I have a motion to approve the resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second. Any further comments, questions? So let's take it to a vote. All those in favor of accepting and approving resolution number 2019-14, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. All right, our second resolution that we will consider for approval this evening is resolution number 2019-15, which is a resolution of the Speedway Redevelopment Commission approving a funding agreement and other matters related to the 2500 project. Tim?
All right, so this is the funding agreement portion of the project. So this is the part that hadn't been approved yet. It was referenced in the EDA and the purchase agreement, but now that we're close to the finish line and all the pieces falling into place, we're able to draft the funding agreement. So this outlines it sets up the two accounts. So there will be a bond proceed account and there will be a restricted fund account, which is the sale proceeds. It outlines what gets paid first, minimum thresholds, what needs to be in there. Going back to the previous resolution and amendments, again, the basic deal has not changed. Our commitment is the same for infrastructure. We have a not to exceed portion. This just puts the details behind that. This is who gets paid when. I mentioned the deferral of payment due to Circle K needing to make their decision. This outlines exactly how that gets paid back into the restricted fund and makes us whole, and minimum thresholds, all the details that you'd want to make sure that everything's being covered and that we can pay our portion of what we've committed to this project on the infrastructure and 25th Street and High School intersection improvements as well. So I think that's the basics of it. It's the main structure that kind of handles all the specific details to closing dates, timing of payments, how we handle claims. So they'll have to put in David will actually, get a claim from them and we'll have to review it, make sure all the expenses are legitimate. Then both sides have to sign off on it to be able to withdraw out of the restricted account. All those checks and balances to make sure that the money being used on infrastructure is part of these agreements. This outlines all the details to that kind of structure. So this is the first time we've had the funding agreement, so this resolution will approve the funding agreement and allow the president to execute it once it's signed off on by the developer. So because we just negotiated a lot of these details last week, we have not had it signed by the developer. We want to make sure they sign it first, and then we'll sign it second.
Thank you for that explanation. Anybody have any questions of Tim?
Just one quick question. If the deal were to unwind and fall apart, the scenario would be that we would regain the land, give them back the purchase price, correct?
Yeah, essentially we unwind the sale, and then we are the owners of all the plans, all the infrastructure plans, and detailed drawings and whatnot. We would then own the land again, and we could go back out to market. And then also anything that would be done in that point would be our possession then as well.
Don't anticipate that happening, but we are protected, provided that does.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Very good.
That's an important provision.
Yep.
Any further questions? Well, hearing none, let's take it to a vote. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of resolution number 2019-15, a resolution of the Speedway Redevelopment Commission approving a funding agreement and other matters related to the 2500 project.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to vote on Resolution 2019-15, as you just stated, approving a funding agreement and other matters related to the 2500 High School Road project.
Great. Thank you for that motion. We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, now that we have a motion and a second, any further comments or questions? Hearing none, let's go ahead and take it to a vote. All those in favor of approving resolution number 2019-15, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. All right, the last resolution for consideration this evening is resolution number 2019-16, and it's a resolution concerning the acquisition of real property. Tim?
All right, this resolution and update came on pretty late today, so we apologize for that. Part of our legal process for acquiring or attempting to acquire property, I should say, is we have to have 2 appraisals done prior, which slows us down from the market. So we went ahead and had 2 appraisals done on the property located at 1617 Cord Street. We now have the average of the 2 appraisals. This resolution would, at the SRC's choosing, allow us to put an offer in on that property at no more than the average of the 2 appraisals.
Great, thank you, Tim. Any questions? I will entertain a motion for the acceptance of resolution number 2019-16, a resolution concerning the acquisition of real property.
Mr. President, I move that we approve Resolution 2019-16 concerning the acquisition of real property and authorize Tim Gropp to make an offer not to exceed the average of the 2 appraisals.
Thank you for that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2019-16. Any further questions, comments?
Just to be clear, this is just to put an offer in, so does not mean they'll accept it. Doesn't, anything else would have to come back to the SRC, and then if there is an accepted offer, we'd also have to approve the purchase agreement.
Another purchase agreement approval.
This is just step 1 of us looking at strategic parcels that we might
And
be
again, it's all
interested
part of the governmental process,
Correct.
the acquisition of real property. All right, thank you, Tim, for that explanation. All those in favor of accepting resolution number 2019-16, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to, actually, there is no old business on the agenda, but we do have our last agenda item before adjournment is the director's report. Is there anything else that you'd like to relay to us and the audience?
Yeah, just one quick update. We had the special meeting, when was that, Tuesday, 2 Tuesdays ago, related to the tax sale. That ended up being not necessary. The tax sale was canceled, so no harm, no foul there. They have rescheduled the tax sale to February 14th, 2020. So we'll be doing a little due diligence in the interim. We'll keep an eye on the list again and possibly come back and decide if we want to pursue property acquisition through the tax sale or not at that time.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Tim?
That's it for now.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Glad to have you back and Kelly
A rough
back.
first day.
Yeah, and I know it's always rough, and it's difficult to, have a couple of meetings and also the other meetings you've had in the office. Before we adjourn, I'd like to ask if anybody has any announcements.
I have a few. There are several chamber events coming up here. So October 26th is Trunk or Treat, and that's been moved to the high school parking lot, and this is free for all to attend. November 7th at Delara is the chamber auction, and again, that's a free event. And Light the Night is at Delara December 4th. So I hope you can all attend.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I'm good.
There's an election coming up.
Yes, there is.
Should go out and vote November 5th. And also, I've noticed that there's actually a really nice view from the B&O Trail and Main Street of downtown now that those trees are gone at 10th and Polko. So
It's a lot different look,
Yeah.
isn't it?
it's a lot different look. I'm looking forward to it getting cleaned up, without a doubt. But yeah.
Oh, it is. I mean, they've made some tremendous progress. Every time I go by there, I'm amazed.
It's a lot of lime.
A lot of fun.
Awful lot.
Just to be clear, the lime is not part of the cleanup at this point. So
No.
I do get that question.
Jennifer, Dr. Reed, have any comments? Any announcements? Great. I also want to emphasize that November 5th is our general election day. Please get out and vote. We have all of our town council positions on the ballot, as well as the clerk treasurer. I think it's a right that we all certainly should take advantage of. So hopefully we'll have a good turnout. And also want to say, please support our Speedway businesses and services, particularly with the holidays coming up. I think Kroger's got a lot of good sales on candy, so, with Halloween coming up, I'm sure you can, certainly stock the shelves. So, with no further...
I forgot one.
Oh,
The Lions Club Halloween for the kids is at the junior high this Wednesday.
So it was that Halloween reminder.
Yes.
Yeah, well, great. Well, you're just a wealth of information.
One of
That's
events.
great.
A lot of candy going around.
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
month.
awful lot of candy. Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, abstained. Meeting is adjourned.